Hi, my name's Shawn Jansen. I'm joined by Shawn Lynch, and this is the Shawn and Shawn Show. Hard to believe, but we're heading into, week 7 of the season?
Yeah, excuse us if we're a little bleary-eyed after doing some training here at the office this fine day.
Yeah, but we're getting fired up. Some big games this weekend, Friday, especially in the CCC with Pittman coming to Merced. Buhach going into Turlock, and what is probably a playoff game for them. It's probably going to decide whether they get in the playoffs or not. We went out to talk to Kevin Navarra at Buhach Colony's practice to see if they're ready for Friday. But before we go ahead to get to that and break down this week's games, here's the sights and sounds from last week.
Let's go! Oh my goodness. Hit it up! They did a hit it go. Go, face it!
All right, let's go ahead and talk about last week's games. Let's start with the Santa Fe Bowl. It was the 45th meeting between Merced and Atwater, and this one was one-sided. Merced kind of jumped out big.
Yeah, I don't know that it was entirely unexpected, but I don't think that makes what Merced did any less impressive. They were incredibly efficient on the ball. Atwater's been a good defense all year long. You know, they've been able to keep themselves in games that way. And Merced just ran through them. They passed the ball successfully. They ran the ball successfully. The first unit was out there for 7 possessions essentially in the game, and they scored 7 touchdowns on them. So can't get any better than that, basically.
Yeah, the way Atwater started the game, the way you can't start the ball game. I mean, with back-to-back turnovers, interceptions, just set up for easy scores.
I mean, it's funny talking to the Atwater coaches before the game, the game plan going in. They did not want a ball snapped before the referee, the head judge is waving his arm. But unfortunately, they turned the ball over on their first 2 passes of the game. That kind of gets that game plan of just ball control out of the way, because as soon as Merced starts scoring, you got to start scoring with them, or they're just going to blow past you. Turned it over 4 times in the game, and Merced turned all of those into touchdowns. So tough to overcome that against a good team like that.
Talking to you Friday night after the games, you were ready to crown Merced CCC champs.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed all the way around. They did some good things defensively. Obviously, they forced the turnovers, but they were pretty stout against the Atwater run game. And like I said, offensively, they were just clicking on all cylinders. When you can get away with giving Jabbar Bird the ball only 4 times in the game, you know things have gone well for you.
Let's turn our attention to the Buhach Colony game. Kind of maybe not a shocker that Pittman beat Buhach, but maybe the score, 34-13. The Buhach Colony defense just kind of got shredded with some big plays.
Yeah, 3 plays over 53 yards in the game. Kind of a repeat of what happened against St. Mary's the week before. There's apparently some chinks in the armor there that have been getting exposed the last few weeks. Pulled away late. I mean, it's a 20-13 game, I want to say, at some point in time in the third quarter.
Going into the 4th, I think it was 2013.
And, that's very un-Buhach-like to not be able to finish off games. Usually that's something where they pull past the other team. So, good win for the young Pittman team. Sets up a big showdown with Merced this week and leaves Buhach kind of reeling going into this Turlock game.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting reading the comments from the Pittman coach, Tom Tyler. He kind of had his doubts, are we ready for a big game like this going in? And he had to be happy with the way his team performed. And they've certainly opened up and made themselves a player in the CCC.
I really hit the nail, choking badly. Hit the nail on the head with the Justin Stephanie, get him more carries than Big Pig's lap, and he got his 17 carries, goes for 135 yards and a touchdown. But sounds like not much else went right for the Buhach offense that day.
Yeah, the game I covered, Turlock beats Golden Valley 50-29. Kind of our first look at getting a chance to see Turlock. They got a big offensive line. I like their quarterback, Bubba Moreno. He really makes things happen. He can kind of scramble. Talking to their coach, he loves to throw the ball deep, which what quarterback doesn't. But they hit Golden Valley with some big plays. But Golden Valley it wasn't like they just weren't competitive in this game. They hung around for a while. It was a 2-score game, especially after they got a big. They intercepted a pitch and ran that all the way back. Yeah. Orlando Robles.
You don't see that a lot. You think that would happen more in the high school game?
Yeah, 66-yard touchdown for him. They cut the lead to 1. Turlock scores before the half, but then turnovers were kind of the big deal for Golden Valley. They turned the ball over 5 times. 2 of those helped set up some Turlock scores, a pick 6.
Yeah.
They recover a fumble and set up a short field for them, so it kind of put the game away. But I was impressed with Armando Musquiz, their Golden Valley quarterback. Threw for over 280 yards, 2 touchdowns. He looked pretty good in the game. He's only going to get better. He had a couple turnovers where there's some times where he holds on to the ball a little bit longer instead of just trusting his read and letting it go. But it wasn't too bad, and I think it sets up an interesting matchup with Atwater this week. I think that's Golden Valley's best shot at getting a win this year, because it's only going to get tougher down the line when they're facing the Pittmans, Buhachs, and Merceds.
Yeah, I mean, when you're not scoring a ton of points a game, you can't give up 2 defensive touchdowns against you. That's just going to be a killer anytime, and obviously that was a huge blow to them in the third quarter.
Yeah, but watching Golden Valley, they don't look like an 0-10 team.
Right.
0-10 teams don't score 29 points in a game like that. They had some opportunities to get some wins in the non-conference season. They weren't able to pull them out. And talking to Dennis Stubbs, they're just right there. It's just if they can eliminate, it's when they make mistakes, they're big mistakes, and they become costly, and it keeps them from being able to compete in the fourth quarter. Big game in the WAC. Pacheco beats Livingston 30-22. But you had to come away from this thinking, Livingston's legit. And even talking to David Snap after, I asked him, what he thought of Livingston. He said Livingston's a good team.
Yeah, you look at the stats too, and Pacheco did a nice job defensively against Livingston. They held them to 75 rushing yards as a team. CJ Avila only passes for 95 yards in the game, but obviously Livingston was pretty opportunistic with their chances, and it was a nice tight ball game. Really impressed all the way around. Good win for Pacheco. They get the inside track to the WAC title. They got Patterson coming up in a couple weeks. And,
next week.
And it sets up a big week for Livingston, 2 weeks in a row, essentially, where they're going to need to win one of those games to get themselves playoff eligible.
Yeah, you look at talking to Coach Snap, they fumbled, I think, on their first 2 drives. One of them helped set up a Livingston touchdown. They had some drops in the passing game, which really kind of stifled their offense. But then they kind of found some things in the running game. They were able to get that going. Again, they had a 30-yard touchdown late. Juwan Epperson ran in one from 1 yard out to punch one in. So they were able to kind of capitalize there. And once they did, they were able to kind of get ahead and get this win, which sets up the showdown with Patterson next week. I stopped out at Buhach Colony's practice to talk to Kevin Navarra to talk about last week's game and to set up this week's games with Turlock. Here's what he had to say. We're here with Buhach Colony coach Kevin Navarra. You guys just wrapped up practice. Talk about last week against Pittman. You gave up some big plays there, and that was really the difference in them kind of running away with it at the end.
Yeah, I was part of the way the guys executed the game plan itself. We got out of position a few times, I thought, defensively. Missed a few tackles that I thought we should have had, and some tried to clean up this week. And, offensively, I thought we couldn't punch it in when we needed to. We put points on the board by settling for some field goals, and that's football. You got to take advantage of the opportunities.
How difficult is it to turn the page and just focus on what you guys have at hand this week with Turlock?
You know what? The group itself has done a real good job of turning the page. I think these seniors have learned from last year. Definitely don't want to follow the same path. We talked early Monday morning about being hungry. Still competing, trying to get into the playoffs, for the title. I think that's everybody's goal.
Coming in, you guys are 3-3. Usually it takes 6 wins to get to the playoffs. With 4 games left, is this a must-win game for you guys as far as playoffs?
I'm going to say it's a must-win. I think you got to take that approach with each game. But realistically, the magic number 6. So with 4 games left, we got to get 3 of those 4. And so I think if you fall down or you're putting yourself back against the wall where you've got 3 games left, you got to win all 3. That's tough, especially in our league where we've got some pretty good teams.
What's your impression of Turlock? It looks like their quarterback, Bubba Moreno, really makes them go.
They look real consistent. I mean, from last year to this year, you don't see a whole lot of difference as far as the offense. I thought Bubba Moreno, he's done a great job at quarterback as far as stepping in. You can tell there's a system that's been developed. They're still executing, they're moving the ball, they're producing some points. And the thing that worries me about them the most is probably just their fight. A couple scenarios where they've been down in games and they've given themselves an opportunity to win the game.
What's been the response of your guys this week, especially the seniors who know that, hey, it's on the line here of my last year?
Yeah, I think from a leadership perspective, I couldn't ask for anything more. They've stepped up, they've taken control of their team, which I've kind of said that from the beginning. We're only going to go as far as they want us to go. They had a meeting on Monday morning. I think they got some things off their chest and expressed that to the juniors on what the expectations are, and hopefully we're ready to step up for Friday night.
All right, well, good luck on Friday.
Thank you.
All right, let's start off with the big CCC game. You got Pittman at 5-0 coming to Merced to face Merced, who's 4-2. Real impressive performance by Merced last week against Atwater. Tyrone Williams was on fire early on in that game as our Sun-Star athlete of the week, teased to later in the week. Who's your pick here, and how do you see this game going?
I mean, you still got to go with Merced, despite the fact that Pittman obviously had a pretty impressive victory itself. But Merced's playing at a different level at this point in time. The kids all talked about it, how they really kicked it up a notch, took some extra focus and practice over the course of the week, and it showed. I mean, they were as efficient as I've seen them the last few years. Moving the ball with ease through the air or on the ground. They got so many weapons. Choose your poison. How are you going to stop them?
And Merced's used to playing in big games.
Yeah.
You look at their non-conference schedule, the teams that they play. They went 5-0 in league. They had big games last year throughout league that they had to win. I think the one thing you can kind of point to is that this Pittman last year held Merced to just 21 points. It was a 21-14 game where Trevante Richard had to catch a touchdown with about 8 seconds left. But I just think this offense, they're just fine-tuned. They perform. They execute at a high level. You look at it, and it's going to be tough to see this offense not score 40 points. And I think their defense can come up with enough stops against Pittman if they don't give up the big plays like Buhach did last week.
Yeah, and if Pittman turns it over, they're going to be in some real trouble. I mean, Merced's shown how they can just pour points on you in a matter of 5-10 minutes.
And the way that they played Clovis North, they showed that they can slow it down if they have to and get the running game going with Jabbar Bird and Lonzo Gilliam and Burnett if they need to. So I got to go with the Bears there. Buhach Colony, we heard that, this is a must-win game for Buhach because you look at the schedule, they're probably going to get a win over Atwater, but they're going to need a win over Turlock this week because they're going to be underdogs against Merced looking down the line.
Yeah. They definitely. I imagine last week was a definite blow for them. They're going to have to rally back, and they got to figure out some things defensively because, like we've said earlier, they've been giving up some huge chunks of yards on big plays. If they can limit that, if they can do what they like to do ball possession-wise, they should have a good chance here. I think the concern you have to have going into this one is the way Turlock just pounded the ball on the ground and the way they've been getting gashed in the run game the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, Turlock throws a lot of running backs. They love to run that fly sweep. Andrew Lopez, he's tough to bring down. He's kind of a shifty back who can run pretty hard, low to the ground. Bubba Moreno, he'll tuck it and run when he needs to. I think what you want to do, you got to win the battle on first and second down and kind of set them up to where they have to pass on third down, much like you have to do to Buhach Colony here.
Yeah.
Put Turlock into predictable downs, and then I think Buhach Colony can have success. But I think here Buhach Colony's backs are against the wall. I think they come out fighting, and I think the Thunder pull a win. Although it's tough, we've said it's tough winning at that field, winning at Turlock. But I think because Buhach Colony has to do it, I think they get it done.
Yeah, they already played there last week. They're familiar with the surroundings, and they've been able to do it in the past. I'll go Buhach also.
How about the other CCC game? You got Golden Valley against Atwater. Probably two evenly matched teams here. Maybe first 1 to 20 points wins.
if they get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, GV's offense has started to click a little bit. Like you said, they've been putting some points on the board. And obviously Atwater's defense has kind of been carrying the load there. So I guess it's, something's got to give kind of game. I haven't seen Golden Valley. You haven't seen Atwater, so that makes it a little tougher to decide. I like what I've seen from Atwater, though. I think they're fully capable of winning this game. And I guess just based off of the slightly tougher non-conference schedule, I'll give them the nod for now.
I'll go Cougars. I think they get it done here. Like I said, I think their offense is progressing week to week. They've been in some games. Maybe this is the one that they get the W. And plus, I predicted that they weren't going to go 0-10, so this is their best shot. Los Banos with a big game in the WAC this week. They're 4-2. Kind of a chance to prove that they belong in the upper echelon of teams in the WAC with the Pattersons and Pachecos. Patterson at 5-1.
Yeah, it's a big opportunity for them for sure, and they've been playing some pretty good football as of late. They've had a couple pretty decisive victories in WAC play coming into it. I like how they've been using David Walker a little bit in the run game, a little bit from the slot. He's been doing quite a bit for them, and he's a tremendous athlete, so you get him as many touches as you can. That said, with Patterson, it's almost always, can you be as physical as them? And, I'm not sure Los Banos is there yet.
Yeah, I think, the physicality and the speed, talking to Atwater after they had played Patterson, they said some of the Patterson guys were some of the fastest guys they've seen this year, and that's saying something with the schedule they played. You got Michael Lawson at running back and DeMario Hammonds at receiver. Both are big-time players, and I'm not sure that Los Banos is going to be able to contain the explosiveness there, so I'm going to go with the Tigers in that matchup.
All right, that's going to do it for this week. We appreciate your tuning in, and we'll hope you'll be back next week.